Good afternoon. Hello, Casey Durango here of Go Keto with Casey, where I like to talk about how I've lost 97.4 pounds since starting the ketogenic protocol and how you might be able to lose weight, improve your health, and regain control of your life. Thank you so much for allowing me to be part of your day. Today, I'm going to talk about something that was really inspired by a couple of folks, three folks actually, from my Patreon community, which is a private community where I do about 20 videos a month for patrons. And patrons, there's a place where they can input suggestions for topics. And so, which I really appreciate because I made about 575 of these videos, and coming up with material can be challenging. But I'm going to read you, so indulge me for a moment here. First of all, let me say the ketogenic protocol, for those of you who don't know, is one by which we reduce our carbohydrate intake to a point where our liver does not pump out glucose for fuel and our body happily switches to burning ketone bodies or fat for fuel. For just about everybody, if you keep it to 20 total grams of carbohydrate a day or fewer, that'll do it. If it's not on page 4, link below, don't eat it. And if don't eat if you're not hungry and stop when you're satiated. That said, the food is the easy part. It's simple. It's a one-page document of food, and it's not worldwide inclusive because you can't fit everything that would be allowable on one page. But the food is not the hard part. Here, I'm going to give you an example of what can be the hard part. So this is from I'm not going to name any names. This is from the actual topic suggestion spreadsheet to which patrons have access, and they can put in comments and suggestions. So here's what I read earlier in this week. It reads, I know you say no one has a vote on what you eat. How do you stand to that saying? It's hard for me to stand up to my friend who I really admire and truly look up to. She doesn't intend to throw me off track, but sometimes I guess still as an adult, I give in to peer pressure and eat something that doesn't help me. Any advice? This is the kind of thing that many of us encounter a lot, right? I think I've already read on some of the pre-comments that, I've got family who try to sabotage me. So I made my little video and gave my opinion, and hold still, because what really got my attention were comments from 2 other patrons below that video on Patreon. So I gave my opinion, and, nobody gets a vote on what we eat. And that's one of the calendar pages on my calendar this year. By the way, I have very few are left, and you can see those at my blog. They're discounted. But, people, and so my advice was, if you admire this person, hopefully they admire you as well, and they want the best for you. And if they do, why are they wanting you to eat food, that one thing you don't want, and that does not serve you? So we need to admire ourselves as much as we admire anyone else. And I went about and, had my little thing and gave my 2 cents. I want you to hear comments that a couple of my patrons shared of their experiences. And I've had people who, looked at me like I had monkeys on my face when I told them what I was doing when I first started. That's okay. And everything like this. I won't name names. So one comment below that video on Patreon talking about how do you stand up to friends. She writes, we lost a few friends after we started keto. A group of us would always go out every Friday or Saturday night to eat and drink. The last time we all went out, they all harassed me about wasting my potatoes and bread that came with my lovely steak. Every bite of steak I ate, they would say, it's going to kill you eating that much meat. So much so that my lovely husband got up, got us a doggy bag, paid our bill, and said to them, quote, you all have a great night, end quote, and we left. He said to me after we got in the car, quote, those are not our friends. If they act like that, we shouldn't have to explain anything we do to them, end quote. Now listen to this. This person writes, I had lost 130 pounds and my health was great, and no one said anything about that. So people come and go through our lives, and we now have great friends that don't say anything about what we do eat. Now imagine that. A group of friends you've known for a long time witness that you You've lost 130 pounds. How can that be a bad thing? And all you're doing is not eating bread and potatoes. You're not eating cyanide, right? You're not chewing on cigars. Why would anyone do that? But anyway, all you're doing is not eating bread and potatoes. And you're not wasting food because I'm sure you could pass it to them and they'd eat it. So that just really got me. And I was so proud of her husband for taking that stand. And then another person writes under the same thing, under this video about how do you stand up to people. She writes, since starting this 2 years ago, my skin has gotten a lot thicker listening to jokes and comments about what I eat or don't eat or how much I eat. Mostly that happens at work. I recently wrote on a Post-it note, I don't eat if I'm not hungry. That's kind of a mantra that we say around Go Keto with Casey. I say it to myself. Anyway, she wrote, I don't eat if I'm not hungry. I stuck it right on my work computer. So when someone comes and says there's cake or cookies or donuts or whatever in the lounge, I glance at that and say, thanks, I'm good. A coworker came in my office the other day and we were going to look at a work thing together. So she stepped in my space and saw my note to self and said, what is that? I explained and she said, really, you need to remind yourself of that? Just eat the donut, says the friend. I stared at her plumpness for a moment and said, back up out of my space. I said it I said it playfully, but annoyed. And she backed up and said, oh, okay, it's all good. Yes, it's all good. Back up. You go eat my donut and yours. We have to stand our ground. Now, both of these stories, excuse me, I have to come back here. Now, I'll tell you, I've never had anything that blatant. And, I have a fairly thick skin. But I applaud people who are able to stand up. And let's think about this. To the woman who had lost 130 pounds, were any of her friends looking at her with the stink eye, saying she was very unhealthy? And did she really need all that bread and potato? I'm going to guess not. We need to keep in mind, for one thing, at the very minimum, it's no one's business. What other aspect of our lives do people feel the right to comment on our choices? Something so fundamental is how we fuel ourselves, what nutrition path we choose. It's fundamental. They don't get a vote on what we eat. And the thing is, we shouldn't have to point that out. Go eat the donuts. Does anyone really think that that's a health food choice? You're gonna cast aspersions on someone who's passing up on a donut because eating donuts is so good for us? I don't care whether you're thin or fat or what. It's not a health food. It's barely food. It barely qualifies as food. So how do we deal with that? Now, we can assume positive intent from someone who is a friend who might be genuinely concerned because they've heard horror stories and they've heard the bad information and they've heard that, more than one egg a week will skyrocket our cholesterol, which will lead to imminent death. By the way, we're all going to die. Eventually. So if we assume positive intent and someone is truly concerned, how do we respond? I think a nice way to respond is, thank you so much. I appreciate that you're concerned for me. I understand you're concerned because we've all been told the wrong thing, including most of our medical providers. But I've done my due diligence and I'm feeling great. If I stop feeling great, I'll look to a change. But for right now, thank you. And then that needs to be the end of the conversation. But not everyone has positive intent. I hate to say it. Usually when someone is commenting on our food choice, in my opinion, it's because they want to deflect anyone from looking at their food choice. Better that they should look that someone has only steak and asparagus on their plate so that they shouldn't see that I've got fried chicken and mashed potatoes and a side of fries just for good measure and some hush puppies, and I'm waiting on my dessert. Better to point out the weirdo who's eating steak and asparagus than anyone should look at what I'm eating. I think a lot of it comes from that. Also, some people just prefer us when we are they think we reflect better on them. You know, if you want to look thin, hang out with a bunch of fat people. And that sounds really cynical, right? Can anyone here relate to that? Can anyone relate to that? That you feel like you're the heaviest person in the room, and a part of you is thinking, and aren't the other people in the room glad that I'm here? Friendships do change. We go through seasons. You know, you see the parents of your kids' soccer teammates for years, and at the end of the last tournament game, y'all get in the parking lot, go your separate ways, you never hear from each other again. Although you've enjoyed each other's company for all those seasons. Relationships do have seasons, but they shouldn't end because someone's getting healthy. I mean, just on the face of it, right? If you lose a friend because you're feeling better, looking better, acting better, you're more confident, finish that sentence yourself. That was no kind of a friendship. I'm looking at comments. So I've asked the question, can anyone here? And someone did comment, I saw right as I was logging in, that they feel like their family's sabotaging them. This would be difficult. But we do have to ultimately, not anyone, not our life partner, not our young children, not our adult children, not our parents, not our coworkers, not even our doctor has dominion over our decision of what we put in our mouth. If we have faith in the process, if we trust the science, and beyond that, we actually have our own proof, because we start feeling better and our inflammation is diminished and our acid reflux goes away and we don't need our asthma inhaler and our skin clears up and we lose 15 pounds and our mood is regulated. Do we really need more proof than that? So I am going to turn my attention now, because I want to thank the patrons. It's a wonderful community, and it's a true support community, and I learned so much. And I do want to thank, I know some of the patrons are here, so I want to thank them, and I want to thank those that share their stories. Sometimes we can think we got it rough, and then you hear 1-2 other stories, and you say, okay, I'll take my problems. So thank you. I'll put on my giant spectacles. Terry Trumbley, and I'm just going to jump in because I don't know if people are responding to each other. Terry Trumbley writes, be a good example. They expect you to fail and gain back what you have lost. When you continue to gain health, they start coming around. I think that's an excellent point, Terry. I know that there can be people who are enthusiastic for you when you've lost the first 10, 12, 15, 20 pounds. But you're right. They can become less enthusiastic and happy for you when it comes to 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 100 pounds. Because they never really expected it to happen. Sometimes we never expected it to happen. But just stay the course. Hey, Nadia writes, so happy to make the live. I'm so happy you're here as well. Michelle V, one of my favorite people. Where in the mitten are you, Bethany? We have so many Michiganders. Michigan's giving the rest of the country the high five. I won't tell you what West Virginia's giving the rest of the country. Let your success speak for you. The Shuma boy, I can relate. My obese cousin and my pre-diabetic sister make fun of me being keto. It makes me mad. We can't be mad. We can be sad. Some people would rather curse the darkness than to light a candle. That's nothing new. And let's face it, have we not met people who have emphysema and are on oxygen, and they have to get away from the oxygen so they can go out and have a cigarette? It's just one of those things. All we can do is take care of ourselves. If people are trying to sabotage us, and I don't know whether she's in the room or not, Shunda. Oh, I shouldn't have called you out, Shunda. Sorry. I'm not going to share the story then. I should not have said a name. I apologize. I'll use a different example. It's not a sustainable way of life, writes Bethany. Yeah, right. 6 years plus for me. 5.5 for my husband, who just did it because he wanted to ensure continued good health. Has no one asked what I'm drinking? It kind of hurts my feelings when no one asks. I get asked almost every time. So before anyone asks, if they haven't already, a tall glass of ice, diet tonic water, a splash, isn't it pretty? Splash of cranberry juice, diet cranberry juice, and lime. It's very refreshing, that little bit of tart. Hey, ketogenic, how you doing, darling? I appreciate Casey's matter-of-fact approach. Well, thank you. Patron. By the way, if you want to meet some of these wonderful people in person that are on these live chats, have a couple of opportunities. The first one coming up is the Go Keto with Casey cruise in July, Alaska cruise. Several of the folks in this room will be there. See it at my blog. If you go to caseydurango.com, there's the Alaska cruise. Dr. Eric Westman, Jackie Eberstein, and Amy Berger will be with us. It's going to be fun. If you can't make that, Dr. Westman's Keto Retreat, the second annual one in Beaufort, North Carolina. Registration is open. It's limited ticketing, and that's in January of 2021. It is a good time. Hello from British Columbia, Canada. What are you drinking? Thank you, Jen. You're so funny. She's so funny. LG writes, I once went to a luncheon, and on my plate was a raw egg in the shell and a slice of cheese. They thought it was funny, but not me. It was very discouraging. You mean someone served that to you thinking, aha, let's give them a raw egg and a cheese and tacky. Of course, I would have eaten it. I like runny eggs. Barbara Horse writes, dry eyes disappeared on keto. Hey, Helena. Helena will be on the cruise, and I believe she will be in she'll be in Beaufort again. Later, Newman writes, I'm used to always having to watch what I eat. I've been keto for almost 3 years, but low carb for decades. Wow, excellent. And you're still alive. Carol writes, yes, it makes me sad. If I say the word keto, my family would go berserk. They think that is so unhealthy. My stepchildren are largely vegan and experts on everything. Yeah, everyone's vegan for about 15 minutes. Laura Lee writes, that's going to be a boatload of fun. Oh gosh, Lee writes, I was put on my first diet at age 5. Debbie writes, oh God, Carol, my family loses their mind if I say keto. I don't even mention it. Dr. Westman says, tell people you're doing a modified Mediterranean diet, and they love it. Is he okay? Plus, just don't tell them anything. Why are people paying attention to what we're eating or not eating? Like I said, people will have no trouble serving you up a slab of 5-layer birthday cake. How do they think that just passing on the cake is a bad decision? Again, I think it's more misery loves company. Michelle writes, Barbara, I'm so excited to hear about that. I had to give up my contacts due to dry eyes. You give me hope. Colleen writes, I'm no longer pre-diabetic. Off blood pressure. It works. You guys, this is not just about weight loss. This is not just about weight loss. This is about coming off of medications, about physically feeling better. having more energy. Now, every day is not perfect. And I'm not talking about following the protocol perfect. Some days are still crappy. We just have crap days some days. You know, there's some days I go around singing, nobody likes me, everybody hates me. I think I'll eat some worms. Sometimes you just feel like a big dud. But it doesn't mean I'm going to eat chocolate cake or bread, because then I would feel like a dud. Good morning from Toronto, Isabel Sinde. And I hope I pronounced that correct. Severe carbohydrate allergy. Just tell them you're what's it called? When you can't eat gluten. Celiac. Someone says, I have celiac disease. Oh, okay. Lie. It's no one's business. And maybe you do have celiac. Carol writes, oh, Colleen, I would so love to get off my blood pressure medicine. They make me feel so bad. Dr. Eric Westman has shared, I've heard him say that even in his practice, and he's seen thousands of people, and he's at Duke, and he treats people with all kinds of comorbidities. Often blood pressure meds are the last thing he can get them off. So just hang in there. Stick to and I'm sure it's distracting. Lee writes, I will not wear glasses. Yeah, well, I do. Actually, these are readers. Michelle writes, I think people just want to eat crap and not feel guilty about it. So they make comments about keto because they see it as the latest fad diet. Yeah, people want to eat what they want to eat when they want to. That's no different with food than anything else. People want to do what they want to do when they want to do it. No judgment. All right, friends. Let me see Wednesday Wine Day with Amy Berger and me. We do a registered through Crowdcast live stream. Wednesday Wine Day. We talk about wine and cheese and maybe keto and answer questions. And I won't put a link in there, but you can find it all over the place. And actually, if you go to my blog, Wednesday Wine Day, I think the link is there. It is registered. We have a good time. We do this every month, the third Wednesday of every month. And if you get a chance to hear Amy Berger speak, do. She knows her stuff. She's smart. I just tell them I choose not to eat that. I can't eat that. And that's perfectly legitimate. I'm kind of rule of thumb for me is, oh, no, thank you. No, really, thank you. Third time, no. I'm not going to eat that. And almost everybody I know knows this about me. And it's not an issue. What do they care? But if people don't know, I say, no, thank you. Thank you. One woman shook a bowl of like Chex Mix and things under my nose. At this point, I'd lost maybe 45 pounds. Eat. No, thank you. Come on. No, thank you. I'm reintroducing carbs to you. I don't eat that. Well, you're drinking wine. Yes, I am. Different topic. Leader writes, Casey, will you be at the March 14th talk in Virginia? I want to go, but my husband's birthday is that weekend. No. If you're talking about the ADAPT event, no, I will not be there. Bethany writes, my twin has celiac disease. I choose to not eat grains, flour, etc. Yeah, how rude. But yeah, she was not a nice person anyway. I mean, she's one of those people. There are people that when you kind of first meet them, you think, I would love to stand next to you at a cocktail party. You are fun. And then there are people, you meet them, you think, I would like to stand in the opposite corner of the room of the cocktail party because you, not so much. We can't like everybody. And not everyone can like us. That's okay. Colleen writes, A1C dropped enough that doctor said I no longer needed blood pressure meds. You can do it, Carol. Simply eating keto, friendly food, and lowering carbs. Thank you for sharing that. Oh, goody. Debbie writes, I'm all signed up for Wednesday Wine Day. Yay. It is fun. Gavito Razmanis asks, Casey, how often do you have a cheat day? Never. Why would I do that? If I was severely allergic to strawberries and they made me feel terrible and puff up, why would I have a cheat day when I eat strawberries? No, I never. You have not been listening to me very often, because why would anyone do a cheat day? And don't call it cheating. It's not a crime. It's a food choice. Michelle writes, Gavito, I think you're being provocative. Possibly so. People do that. Gray's custom trim. Hey, you're a car trim guy, right? Patricia, I usually say I'll bring an appetizer and salad. I bring a meat platter and a Caesar salad with lots of bacon. There is no reason we cannot go to parties and travel. I might start making some short videos about traveling on keto. And of course, I'll always mention the cruise. But people get concerned about being able to travel and being able to go on a cruise because, let's face it, there's a lot of food on a cruise. Absolutely doable. Diana Salyers writes, sorry I had to step away. I had bacon knots in the oven, just added cheese and mushrooms. Oh my goodness, what's a bacon knot? Sips my champagne from last night. Jen writes, deviled eggs are always the first go-to item, and I bring them. Absolutely. People, as a rule, love deviled eggs. I'm rereading Dr. Atkins' original book from 1972, and that is how I learned about low carb. I always stuck to induction, basically, keto. I knew from 1977 that this worked for me, that low carb worked for me. But I only had about 13 pounds to lose. I was in college. And so I lost them, and I tossed the book. And then as, I got a bit older, in my mid-20s, pregnancy with our second child. And so I struggled for 30 years. For those of you who don't know, I was perfectly round for 30 years, from my mid-20s to my mid-50s. Okay. Kevin Nottingham. Hi from the UK. I'm constantly harassed by my mother and sister to stop doing this fad diet. I'm currently 250 pounds down from 3. You're down 77 pounds and they're harassing you to stop? Are they overweight? Just saying, just asking. It's not a fad diet. Dr. Atkins did not invent it. Dr. Westman did not invent it. It goes all the way back to William Banting, 1863, treatise on corpulence. And he probably didn't. He probably stole it from a French person. Tamalina Maxon writes, I love watching your channel. You keep things simple, straightforward, and honestly blunt. Thank you. Well, it's the only way I know how to be. Blunt as a spoon. I try to be kind, though. Hey, Trish. Trish, the family thinks one more diet for mom. Now, after 2 years in improved health, they are believers. I love Trisha's story. Trisha lives in Colorado. She's a patron, and she was at the Beaufort retreat. And she has a photograph of herself in our patron-only forum, standing atop, what is that trail, Trish? That she didn't think she'd be able to get up to the top of it. And there she is standing in her 60s, triumphant at this high altitude peak. And she wouldn't have been able to do it before. Oh, Helena writes, making a large tray of jalapeno, bacon, cheddar, deviled eggs now for a party tonight. There you go. They're always a huge hit. Yeah, so Kevin, that's amazing. And how anyone can argue with that is beyond me. Even doctors, my doctor said, whatever you're doing, keep it up. She was not in favor of, she was like worried about cholesterol and that. And she finally said, whatever you're doing, keep it up. Oh, thank you, Guido Rasmanis. I hope I'm pronouncing your name. Is it Guido or Guido? Casey, you do a brilliant job. Thank you. Thank you very much. Screenwriting cheese nerd. Sounds like something Liz Lemon would write. Screenwriting cheese nerd. I know keto can work. My friend's mom is no longer a diabetic. For those of you who don't know, I'd given up on weight loss. I just didn't want to take insulin for type 2 diabetes, and I knew I was on track for that. I'd given up on weight loss. I tried it. I tried everything. I did the triathlons. I did the low fat. And so I just gave up. But I just didn't want to take insulin for type 2 diabetes. Gray's custom trim. I don't even call it a diet. I call it a lifestyle change. Today is 10 months since I started, and I have lost what? Wait a minute, dude. Back it up. That's a typo. Today is 10 months since I started, and I've lost 225.4 pounds. You're losing 22 and a half pounds a month? Congratulations. That is stunning. Joanne Sander writes, I can't get started thinking about all the things I have to give up and what I'll make that doesn't get boring. Okay, don't think of all the things you have to give up. Think of all the things that you've been denying yourself for years that you can now have. Blue cheese dressing, ribeye steak, chicken with the skin, eggs with the yolks, butter, bacon. It's a very luscious, decadent way to eat. And let's face it, even when you're on the standard American diet, we usually have about 5 or 6 meals we have in rotation. It's not like we have 365 different meals a year. And usually one of those nights is pizza. So, if you don't think about what you're giving up. That's the psychology of subtraction. I think Dr. George E. coined that phrase. I might be wrong. So get out of the psychology of subtraction. Think about all the great. Did you just read the jalapeno cheddar cheese and bacon deviled eggs? Oh my gosh. Susan Corcoran writes, Casey, you've been such an excellent guide, and I'm so grateful at 75 to be losing weight with your encouragement. You encourage people. 75? And they said it couldn't be done. Raise your hand if you have gotten the message or have gotten the message over the years that if you haven't gotten in charge of your life by like mid-40s or 50 or before menopause, it's all over. Can't be done. Raise your hand. I know I had gotten that message. Michelle shares, don't worry about boredom. There are millions of keto recipes if you like to cook. And it's delicious. But not only that, when you do this right, your appetite is suppressed. You stop thinking about food. Food is no longer the center of my life, not even close. I've been saying lately, food used to be in the driver's seat with me. Almost every waking hour, I was either thinking about food, preparing food, buying food, eating food. It's no longer not in the driver's seat. It kind of moved to the passenger seat, and now it's in a trailer being dragged behind the way back. It's just along for the ride. I'm in charge. Joanne writes, thank you for your straightforward messages, of course. Thank you. If anyone has any questions about anything I'm talking about, check out my blog. But if you want some really great resources, if you want some science stuff, The Art and Science of Low Carbohydrate Living by Drs. Stephen Phinney and Jeff Volek, you can find links to those on my blog, I think, under resources. Watch Dr. Eric Westman's white coat video. But mostly, just keep your carbohydrates 20 grams or fewer a day, total, not net. Eat fatty sources of protein. Don't eat if you're not hungry and stop when you're satiated. Note, there's no math involved there. There's no pie chart. There's no percentages. There are no grams of anything other than carbohydrate. That's it. I'll write a book about how to follow the ketogenic diet. It will be one sentence with 4 phrases, and that's it. And the rest will be blank. Okay, Tamalena writes, to the person that thinks of all the things they can't eat on keto, think positively about how many food choices you still do have compared to people like in the world countries that don't. That's true. We can get anything we need here. Let Me Live Gaming writes, I've been in ketosis 4.6 millimolar since December 13 carbs a day and not really losing weight, probably 1 pound every 2 weeks. So you are losing weight. You're losing 1 pound every 2 weeks. That's perfect. Would you say I'm only putting on 1 pound every 2 weeks? No. You wouldn't say I'm only putting on 1 pound every 2 weeks. You say, my God, I'm putting on 1 pound every 2 weeks. You're losing half a pound a week. That is perfect. Congratulations. The extent of ketosis does not relate necessarily to the amount of, if you're either consuming more dietary fat, meaning bulletproof coffee, fat bombs, etc. If you're consuming more dietary fat than you need, your body will burn that first before it gets to the onboard stores. And maybe you're just consuming a little bit more fuel than you need. But if being in ketosis, and my body chemistry is that my ketosis, my blood ketones tend to run fairly high. Being 5.4 is nothing for me. 4.7, 4.6, 3.9. If being in ketosis equaled losing weight, I would be see-through because I've been in ketosis for 6 years. So ultimately, the amount of fuel we consume does matter, but you are losing weight, so keep doing what you're doing. Michelle writes, yes, Grace, I've seen cardiac surgery patients gain 25 pounds of water in 1 or 2 days. So for those of you who fret about a few pounds or fluctuations on the scale, keep that in mind. Water. Thank you, friends, for allowing me to be part of your day. Thank you to patrons. You get about 20 videos a month from me. That's a private group, and about 4, 5, 6 patron-only live streams a month, 4, 5, 6 patron-only video group sessions a month, and monthly one-on-ones with me, depending on your level of pledge. And thank you to patrons. Patreon and the patrons have allowed me to leave my previous career and concentrate on this. I will continue to provide public content as long as I am able and as long as there is interest. Don't forget the Go Keto with Casey cruise to Alaska. We do have a couple of people looking for stateroom mates. At least one man and at least one woman are looking for stateroom mates. Contact information at my blog. Dr. Westman's Keto Retreat in January, registration. I don't think that's at my blog, but I'll try to get that up there. And Wednesday Wine Days with Amy Berger and me. It's fun. There's a lot of good information out there. There's a lot of bad information out there. Pay attention to your sources. They matter. Pay attention to their motives. That matters. Thank you, friends, and I hope to see you next time.